Hi guys, today we are here to discuss a recent breaking news. Adani Group buying NDTV, and we shall provide you with interesting facts and analysis. Let's get started. The first question that comes to my mind is why NDTV? It is not the biggest fish in the pond and it had around 400 crores of revenue in the fiscal year ending March 2022. For comparison, Network 18 had revenues of 6,000 crores and the Hindustan Times Group had revenues of 1,500 crores. If we look at some international organizations, New York Times had revenues of 16,500 crores, Washington Post had revenues of 2,500 crores and the Economist Group had a revenue of 3,100 crores. But is this a big deal for the Adani Group? For buying those shares of NDTV, Adani Group may be spending between 500 to 600 crores. This is not the largest amount of money that the Adani Group had spent buying businesses. More recently, they spent $10.5 billion buying the Ambuja cement business from Holcim. That is approximately 80,000 crores, which is a lot of money. So the answer is definitely not. Also, rich men buying media houses is not uncommon. Mukesh Ambani's Reliance Industries bought Network 18, spending around 4,000 crores in 2014. Jeff Bezos bought Washington Post for 1,600 crores. And more recently, Elon Musk is trying to acquire Twitter or not acquire Twitter by promising to pay around $44 billion. Now, to be frank, Twitter is not really a media organization and more likely the town hall for internet, but nevertheless, it is a significant acquisition. You know what? Whenever I hear of Elon Musk, well, it is funny. But now, let's get back to NDTV and understand why all this buzz. For that, we need to understand how an acquisition works. A simple model of acquiring a business is that the buyer will ring up the owner of the target business he wants to acquire. They'll talk over the phone, meet a couple of times, appoint a banker to run the numbers, and lawyers to draft the contract. After much negotiations, they will finally agree on the amount of money that the buyer will pay to the seller to buy the business. The seller will give the shares to the buyer, receive the money, maybe buy a yacht, and live happily ever after. Buyer will get to own a business he coveted, make some more money, and live happily too. While that may be an accurate description for many transactions, it may not work if the seller is not willing to sell his shares. The buyer can't buy if the seller doesn't want to sell, because luckily we are not living in a lawless state. But you know what? That is not the end of the story, because some companies like NDTV have their shares spread across many owners. And if some of these people are willing to sell their shares and the buyer is able to buy them, he can still make a play at getting to run the business. And which is what may be happening with NDTV. So here's what may have happened. Adani decided to buy a company which has given loan to NDTV. That lender in return received a promise to own shares of NDTV at a time of his choosing. Adani, now being the owner of the lender company, decided to exercise the choice and become the owner of a large chunk of NDTV shares. It is causing some controversy because Adani decided to not follow the playbook of talking to the seller before making a purchase. The owner managers of NDTV may not like it because suddenly the rug gets pulled under their feet. It is not a nice feeling. Maybe they could have sold the business for a higher price, or maybe they could have sold the business to someone else, or maybe there could be some political or cultural considerations which are causing the controversy. But you know what? Maybe we will never know. One of the interesting observations here is that from July 22, the share price of NDTV moved from 168 to almost rupees 380 by the time this news was public. So in a way, there were many who knew about this. Also, there were two shareholders of NDTV which may have given an indication that Adani Group is looking to make a play at the company. These two shareholders are Dolly Khanna and the LTS investment fund. Now there are articles which mention that Dolly Khanna had purchased shares of NDTV some years ago, thinking that the Adani Group might want to acquire NDTV. And the LTS investment fund is a Mauritius-based investment fund which has almost 98% of its capital invested in Adani Group companies. So it is not very difficult to speculate that maybe there was something brewing and that Adani Group has been thinking about this for some time. But you know what we will get to see in the coming days is a lot of drama, some spilled milk, and probably much ado about not much really. So that's it for this one. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button. It really helps. Thank you.